Recently celebrating its one-year anniversary, Crestron Home continues to evolve and deliver the most robust, refined, and reliable home automation solution in the industry. In this roundtable session hosted by Residential VP John Clancy, a panel of dealers will discuss how to design and implement the next generation of Crestron smart home technology using both brand new and existing technologies. They'll also share their personal experiences with Crestron Home and their insights on how it has helped them grow their businesses. Last but not least, you'll get a sneak peek at Crestron Home innovations on the horizon.
Thank you, Jason. Hello and welcome to Crestron Next and our Crestron Home Dealer Roundtable discussion. As Jason said, I am John Clancy, Vice President here at Crestron, and we are here today to talk about a couple of our dealers to share their experiences with our award-winning Crestron Home platform. By the way, speaking of awards, we just won the 2020 CE Pro Best Award this morning for the whole house control category, along with two other winning products in the winning category for our TSR 310 and our DM NVX solution. So today with us, we have Al Reinhardt from AHT and Mosey Levy from Backstage AV. Hey guys, welcome to Crestron Next and thanks for joining us. Please, if you wouldn't mind, tell the audience a bit about your companies. Al?
So my company's AHT Global. We've been around for about 25 years now, and we currently have offices in Florida, Pennsylvania, New York, LA, and then we have an outpost in Germany that works on our marine projects. We have approximately 110 employees, and we do about 200 to 250 jobs per year between all the offices.
Awesome. Thank you. Mosey.
So we're on the opposite side of the spectrum. The company name is Backstage AV. Been doing this for 15 years, and we have two locations in New York and New Jersey. We have 8 employees, and we do about 40 projects a year.
Great. Thank you, guys. So Crestron Home is just a year old, as Jason said before, and we just released our 7th major update to this rapidly evolving platform. And this by far is the single largest project inside of all of Crestron's product development, right? The speed of evolution and constant regular releases continue to make this the best smart home platform on the market. And it gets better and better almost before our eyes, right? So thank you and kudos to the development team behind Crestron Home. However, I hear from dealers all over the world, and many have questions about how to be successful with Crestron Home. Our two guests expressed to me their excitement and success with Crestron Home, so I figured it would be awesome if we could share their individual successes with Crestron Home to the world. So here we are. So now both of you have been selling Crestron Home in the residential space for a long time. However, you guys come at this from very two directions. Al, AHT is a very large company, one of the largest in the industry. You guys have a large programming staff, and you've been successful delivering Crestron the traditional way for decades, right? That custom program way. You were not an early adopter of Crestron Home, but you've jumped on board over the past few months. Mosey, you've been an early adopter and jumped in with both feet on day one. So I think it's great to tell the two different perspectives of how you both came to Crestron Home and backing it. So let's jump right in. Both of you have told me how this is changing your business. And I'd like each of you to tell us about what your experiences are and how that's affected your business thus far. Al, I know it's hard to change direction of a big ship like AHT. So how and why did you focus on selling Crestron Home?
Well, the how was pretty easy. We just mandated it. We told all our sales guys to focus on Crestron Home because we truly feel that it's the platform of the future for Crestron. We also don't want to wait around too long before we pivot, because sometimes, especially when you're a large company, it's very easy to get caught up in your own ways, and time passes by and you'll see all your competitors pass you by. So we want to get on board as early as possible.
Awesome. Mosey, you're a Crestron programmer, but you chose to dive in head first a year ago when we launched Crestron Home. How and why did you do that?
Crestron Home has absolutely changed our business, but not our system design as much. Some companies have had to adjust their designs based on what fits inside the Crestron Home box. We got lucky. Our original system designs already fit into it well, so we didn't have to adjust anything there. In terms of deployment, the biggest change, though, is I no longer have to personally be at every job to commission these systems. I taught a few of our techs how to do it, along with giving them some best practice guides. Now I spend more time in my office working on sales and project management. It's changed how much I needed to be on site personally. It's allowing us to get more jobs done per year. And this is really important for smaller companies like us, being able to do more with less.
Awesome. So let's talk about the main reasons why we're all in business, right? What's the financial impact to your companies with Crestron Home? Does it help you make more money? Does it save you time? Does it improve cash flow? If so, how? I'm interested to hear how each of you can provide some examples of this. Mosey?
Yeah, we're obviously deploying much faster. So no more spending 1 to 2 weeks programming and no more programming punch lists to complete at the end of a job. A lot of companies struggle with finishing jobs when it comes to that last 10%. So Crestron Home helps us complete projects. It's a better use of our resources and more profit since we have to spend less time on site overall. Being able to do more jobs per year means more volume, means more profit.
Awesome. Al?
Yeah, I agree with Mosey. It's the same thing for any company, whether it's a large company or small company. It really gets us to the finish line much quicker. It allows us to collect that final payment. So that does help on the cash flow side. More than anything, it's the time you save. I think I can't think of a better way to save time than using Crestron Home.
Look, we all know that time is money, right? And that goes a long way, right? So it's funny, that leads into my next question. I actually got a call probably 2 hours ago from a dealer up in New England who is a longtime Crestron dealer. He's a programmer. He's delivered, Crestron custom for a long time. And his comment to me was exactly that he delivers, 9 to 12 projects per year. But in the last 2 months, he's delivered 9 Crestron Home projects, right? And this is changing his business dramatically, right? So again, I'm interested to hear, and maybe our audience is interested to hear about how Crestron Home is changing your overall approach in business. And if so, and why? And so Al, I'll start with you. Is this changing how you guys go and approach new projects?
I think it does. I think, first of all, from a sales perspective, when you're doing a custom home and you have custom programming, there's so many variables. This gives us a finite platform that we work with. It's easy to get to the end of the job. Salespeople can feel assured that the job's going to be completed and that we're going to be giving a unified customer experience to all our clients.
Mosey, anything to add?
Yeah, so it changed our approach to business in the way that it gives us more confidence when selling a system. I no longer have to rely on how well I can personally program a system. And I also have more confidence that I could finish a system on time. I could deliver. So confidence helps with sales and overall company performance.
Awesome. So let me ask you one question regarding Crestron Home and how it fits into your products or your projects and the way you go about selling. Is Crestron Home for every project you sell, and how do you position it against selling against custom program Crestron solutions that you've been doing for a long time? Al?
So yeah, it definitely, as far as talking about I'm sorry, go to Mosey a second. I'm sorry.
Mosey, sorry.
Sorry.
So I tell this to people all the time in the Crestron forums, is that you need to decide if Crestron Home is right for the job before you sell it. You don't want to be halfway through a job and realize that you ran into a wall. So it all comes back to testing the systems thoroughly in your labs or your personal systems. There are absolutely systems that still need to be custom. For us, though, for our company, it's fitting every job that we do. We're in that sweet spot where we have jobs that range from 60K to 600K, and it happens to be fitting every job that we've done so far, and it does a great job of it. I'm not sure if it's because of the way we sell or the way we design our systems, or if it's just because of the market we're located in. But we got lucky that Crestron Home fits every job so far.
Yeah, look, so it's just common sense. I mean, I used to do the same thing, right? We never sold anything we didn't, live with ourselves, right? You eat your own dog food, and you understand
dog food.
You understand what it can and can't do, and that's a big plus. Al, anything to add?
No, I think the big thing is definitely knowing your client and making sure you don't get boxed in, right? So Crestron Home is a box. And you have to understand that box, and you need to know your client, because you don't want to get 90% down the road and all of a sudden the client asks you for something special. And now all of a sudden you tell him, I can't deliver that. With regular Crestron, you can always deliver, right? No matter what the client asks for, you can always deliver it. With Crestron Home, there's a finite amount, and that's a good thing and it's a bad thing, right? But I think if we change our thinking as a company, for us, you can fit practically most of the jobs versus our marine. We can't really fit our marine jobs in there, but you can fit most of our residential jobs into the platform.
Look, that leads directly into the next question, right? So what are your best practices for setting up a system, for designing a new project, for interacting with a new customer and selling Crestron Home to them? Do you first of all, do you need a programmer on staff, or can a technician do it? And how do you go through that process? How do you define the sales process when introducing Crestron Home to a customer? Mosey?
Yeah, so you don't necessarily need a programmer on staff. Like I said earlier, I have my lead techs doing the programming now. So we have set up best practice documents that our techs have access to. And I personally spend time with my guys on several of their first systems to make sure that they're deploying correctly. In terms of best practices, we try to standardize as much as we can. We use DHCP reservations on every system, utilizing the same IP blocks for every time for specific device types. We use the same device recipe on every job. We use Sony TVs or AVRs. We also use Crestron AVRs when we can. We avoid cable boxes that don't have discrete power. We use TiVos with IP control when we can in those scenarios. We use as much Crestron hardware as possible, meaning shades, lighting, climate control, but also Crestron audio and video distribution. When you control what hardware gets designed into a system and you heavily test it in your personal systems first, it's much easier to deploy a solid Crestron Home system. In terms of having an in-house programmer, that was me before. And I occasionally still have to personally help get a system going. In the instance where we need to do some things in Toolbox or need a secondary processor to help out with some features that are outside of the box, I need to be there to do it. But it's becoming much more rare that has to happen as Crestron Home has been moving forward.
So product selection is a big part of it, right? Picking the right products that respond in ways that really can be expected is a big part of it. Al, anything to add to that?
Sorry.
Well, one of the things, definitely having a template of how you're going to implement each and every job. What you don't want to do, unlike when you do a custom system where every job's kind of new and every job's a little bit different. I think with Crestron Home, basically create a template for the company. This is exactly where we're going to deploy to each and every one of our clients. You don't need, let's say, a programmer. A good tech can absolutely do it, but the big thing with the techs is making sure that he's properly trained, because unlike some of the other platforms where you're the current platform, I can do the majority of the programming. I can do it offsite. With Crestron Home, there's more on-site time, right, getting it going because of the way it configures. So you don't want a tech out there just fumbling around if he doesn't really know what he's doing, trying to figure out the system. So make sure he gets trained up before he goes out. But any good tech can definitely do it.
Awesome. So what would you say about the rapid and constant evolution of Crestron Home? I mean, again, seven releases in the first year, and has that ability to update the system even remotely, adding features and enhancing the user experience, made your customers' experiences with smart home systems better? What's this typically like without Crestron Home? Does it include truck rolls, Al?
Yeah, without Crestron Home, things are definitely more challenging, let's say. The nice thing these days is when you wake up every morning or every few weeks currently, you can have a new feature added to your system. And that's amazing. And I think the big part about that is actually letting your clients know that this is the way Crestron Home works, so that they don't feel that they're stuck with whatever you gave them, from day one. It also helps out, later on in the future when they want to do an upgrade. When you're doing the traditional method of programming, upgrades can be very costly. With Crestron Home, it can be fairly reasonable in price.
Mosey?
Yeah, so previous to this, our systems would be frozen in time after we deployed them. When selling Crestron Home, we try to compare it to the way Apple works. When you buy an iPhone, you're getting amazing quality hardware. It's nothing without the software. So Apple gives you an amazing OS, and through yearly updates, you're getting new features for free that it didn't have when you first got it. So this is similar to how Crestron Home works, and we make sure our clients understand that you're getting top-notch hardware, some of the best hardware in the industry. But even after you purchase, you'll be getting new features over time for free. So I think that's a great recipe for success, and the clients get it. They understand the value of a modern platform like this that will evolve even after the project is done. In addition, it's making service contracts more attractive to our clients, and that it allows us to say that we'll be on site and deploy these software updates and test them, and it just makes those service contracts more attractive to them.
So, look, to me, that's a big point, right? I think for most of our industry, end users get stuck in time, and I'll use your phrase, Mosey, at that time of installation, right? That no one goes back and updates customer systems on the fly and adds new features, right? And so here's a platform that automatically continues to evolve, and those features get added really easily and very nicely. And again, even the updates and the upgrades that Al touched on become really simple. So I think that's a big feature. So what do your customers say about Crestron Home after they've experienced it for a while? Any feedback from your customers that you want to share, Al?
Yeah, in a word, I mean, really, it's simple, right? So the best part is the app. We don't have to think about how the app should be laid out. In the old method, basically every control house will have their own method of programming. So it doesn't give a very unified experience to the client if he has several homes. Here, I know that the guy gets it, he looks at it, he goes, wow, look how easy it is to use, just like, let's say his Sonos app, right? Things that he's used to. Those are things VT Pro E could never do.
Oh, yeah. Well, look, it's the burden is taken off your shoulders, right, to deliver that, right? And so that's one of the big features. Mosey, anything to add?
Yeah, so initially our clients comment on the room photos and how they appreciate the attention to detail. But besides that, we have not been getting a lot of feedback, and I think that's a good thing, mostly because everything just worked well, which is what they expect of software in 2020. So it's in line with everything they expect, which previously was not the case. We have been getting a lot of indirect feedback in terms of that a client wants to now, clients with multiple homes now want to get Crestron Home in their second home. And that means that they really love it. They want to see in that app 2 homes, be able to swipe between both of them.
Awesome. So Mosey, I'll start with you. What's your personal favorite end user facing feature of the platform? Not your from a dealer perspective or your integrator perspective, but you obviously have it in your home. So what's your favorite personal feature as an end user?
Yeah, this is an easy one. It's the iOS app. It helps sell the system. When I'm in meetings and sales meetings, I show the clients my iPad running my home system, and they see how I interact with it, and they're instantly sold. Or I'll send a client a link to the iOS app where they could just enter demo mode. And usually after playing with the app for a little bit, they are sold on the system. So that iOS app goes a long way. And the fact that it's identical on the TSW screens is perfect.
And has demo mode helped you? I mean, that's something we added a few months ago. Does that help you sell?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Previous to that, I was sending them videos, or I had to be in person showing my phone. So the fact that they could just dive right in and play with it, not only is it showing them how easy the app is, but it's also showing them what else they should buy. In other words, if they were just thinking about lighting and not shades, or if they didn't think about climate control, it's opening up their minds to what else should be part of the Crestron Home system that they purchased.
Awesome. Al, what's your personal favorite end user facing feature of the platform?
I think that's going to be the quick actions.
Okay.
I like the fact that the quick actions are front facing. They're front and center right there for the client, right? Whether you're on the iPad app, whether you're on the touchscreen. So it's really easy for somebody to come up and touch a button, have a whole set of things happen. And part of our procedure and part of our template is to lay out certain quick actions. And it's a good way to demo the system, because when you walk into someone's home and they say, this is your new home, press this button, boom. And, we'll try to incorporate a media scene and all that. So they get impressed very quickly.
So look, I would say that even for us here at Crestron, right? I mean, we eat that dog food, right? I think all of us that are involved with Crestron Home, both here at HQ and as well as our sales team globally, pretty much all of us have Crestron Home at home, and we use it every day. And I think that tells a great story about how we interact with this system and can relate to the end user and the dealer, because all of us essentially configured it on our own. So stepping into that side, now flipping roles, what would you say was the most significant or powerful feature for you as the integrator? Al, is that what would that be?
Well, I don't know if you call it a feature, but it's more about the time savings that we have. It just allows us, that what you guys have produced to quickly implement a system saves us a lot of time, and it's valuable time that now we can take. And instead of spending like we used to spend weeks, months in some of our projects programming and hoping to get done, and one more tweak, right now we can just be done with the system, and then we can concentrate on our business versus the job.
Great. Mosey.
Very similar, but I have three things. The first is speed, just being able to wow our customers in terms of speed it takes to accomplish things when you're first deploying the project. After that, being able to VPN in and make changes with confidence that it won't break anything else without having to worry about if I have the right version of programming software on my Windows machine. And then the last thing is that I'm spending a lot less time in Windows. I'm spending a lot more time on my Mac and iPad to do these things, which is great for me. The less I can do in Windows, the better.
Awesome. Yeah, look, I think from my personal opinion, I think it's the speed and ease of making changes. Forget about deployment, because that's really quick and easy. But the speed and ease of adding things to my system, adding a new touchscreen, right? I think 2 weeks ago I took home a new touchscreen, and I think it took me longer to unbox it than it was to add it to the system. And in years past that would have taken me a weekend to get done, right? So that's great to hear. So what would you say to Crestron dealers out there who may think that this is Crestron Light, that this is not Crestron, this is Crestron Light? So Mosey, I'll start with you.
It really depends on who that dealer is. For us, it is not limited to deployments in any way. It's the same basic recipe we were already deploying before Crestron Home, but now we're doing it faster with a more modern UI that the customers really love. So for us, it is not limited to the systems we deploy. And that should say a lot before and after Crestron Home.
Al?
Yeah, it's definitely not light. I mean, you're using the same exact equipment as you would with regular Simple, and probably doing it much quicker. You also tend to sell more Crestron gear, because since it's a Crestron-centric platform, you're going to sell Crestron shades, you're going to sell Crestron lighting, because it just integrates better. And when you tell the client the entire story, they get that, and they buy into the story. So I think that's very important. And also, that you get a predictable experience time and time again. I think that's the most important thing for us as a company, knowing that we're going to be giving them exactly the same thing, whether they have 1 home, 2 homes, 3 homes. We're going to be giving them the same platform. Or if another dealer, if Mosey's doing a job for somebody, and we're doing the same thing for a client, they're going to get the same experience.
Look, I think that's probably one of the biggest factors I have to deal with, when I speak to new dealers, right? About, well, okay, I have Crestron and then I have Crestron Home. What's the difference, right? What's the product line difference? And there really is none. It's Crestron. It's just done a different way. And I think the user experience and the ease and ability to speedily configure the system is really the big point. So
the difference is you make more money.
Well, that's the key, right? Well, look, again, thank you guys for participating here today and sharing your insights on what we envision as a significant part of the future of our residential business. If people want to get in touch with you, Mosey, what's the best way?
You can find me on Facebook in the Crestron Home forums as Mosey Levy. I'm on Instagram as Motech or Backstage AV, one word, on Instagram.
Awesome. Al?
You can find me on my email. My email is al@ahtglobal.com.
Awesome. Well, look, we're going to jump into some live questions from the audience. So hopefully you guys are ready to handle some of these things. All right. First question. What makes Crestron Home the way of the future? Al, that was your comment early on, so I'll ask you to answer that.
So if you've been doing it as long as we have, you know how cumbersome Simple is, right? And so as you look at other products and who you're competing with in the Crestron world, in the Crestron Home world, you're competing with a couple of other manufacturers that have a similar platform of sorts. So deployment is easier. If I'm still deploying it my way, I'm going to have to charge more, obviously, because it's going to take me 2, 3, 4 times as long. And again, back to the point, that job may never just be done because that client may just want one more thing. So I think what makes it the future is that it's repeatable and predictable.
Cool. Mosey, anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'd like to add a little bit. When people think about this is the future of Crestron, I feel like they're thinking to themselves, I've heard this before 2, 3, 4 times. What makes this different than those last times? And I've been with Crestron for over 10 years, starting with Prodigy, System Builder, Studio, and I've never seen this much weight being put behind a system. It feels like there's a huge amount of power from Crestron on their end, resources going into it. I've never seen updates come this fast, and just seeing how excited Crestron is and how much they're putting behind it makes it the future of Crestron.
Your words cannot be any louder. Yeah, so this is by far, like I said early on, the biggest single effort inside of the product development team, and hopefully that's seen in the rapid expansion and evolution of the platform. So next question is, how do you effectively set customer expectations on the system? Mosey, I'll start with you. I think you touched on it a little bit, but if you want to elaborate.
It's really important when you're selling a system to let them know what they can and can't do, and to find out what their needs are in the beginning. So you have to let them know that the way it is the way it is, and if they want anything that's extremely different, that they have to wait for future software updates to get to that. So that's the main difference. But you also have to tell them the positives of getting this system, where that it's significantly faster, it's much more modern. There are software updates where previous to other systems, you could do custom, but they were going to be stuck in time. So when you make them understand the balance of what they're getting, yes, it's a closed box. It's going to do 95% of what you want to do. The 5% that you're going to miss is really, you have to find out if that's important or not to them. And it's a conversation you need to have, but it's never limited us.
Al?
Yeah, like Mosey said, a lot of the time you got to know your client. So listen to your client, listen to what their needs are. And yeah, it does 95%. And I even say it probably does closer to 99. There's that one little thing that a client may or may not want. And you ask the client, is it that important versus the benefits of having Crestron Home? And typically you'll find out that it's not. So
I have a number of questions here, but I'm going to jump ahead to one that I think is kind of important. What is your comeback to Control4 when a customer brings it up? And I think that's a pretty common example. So Al, I'll start with you.
We don't go against Control4 quite a bit or a lot. It does come up, but I wouldn't say that Control4 is any less expensive when you really look at it. There are parts that are a little bit less expensive, but I think at the end, the overall experience plus the hardware, which is what I really talk to clients about, it's about the Crestron hardware and how good it's made versus, a Control4 or another product out there.
Thanks. Mosey, anything to add?
Yeah, when people bring up Control4, I tell them they're really actually bringing up Lutron. Control4 just controls your TVs and your music, and that's great. But when you're building a high-end luxury home, it's much more about climate control, motorized shades, and centralized lighting systems. And Crestron is up there with Lutron as the best. Crestron ends up having a better warranty, a lifetime warranty on these things, where Lutron has a limited 10-year warranty. And you're having, at the end of the day, 2 separate systems. So Crestron does everything, and it does it with really, really high quality, and that's the key.
So I'm getting a few questions around voice control. So I don't know how many projects you guys have deployed with voice. I know it's really easy with Crestron Home, but again, if you can elaborate or talk about, what is your interaction with Crestron Home and voice, specifically Alexa?
Yeah, so we do it, and it's like you said, it's easy, and those kind of things are kind of cool to do right there with the client. If you show them, because it really populates really quickly, set up their account, and they say to you, wow, you can really do that easily. Yep. And so when you start, we do make it a focus to make sure we put dots in all the rooms to make sure that they get that experience throughout the home. And people, we may think of it as trivial, the voice control, but really people actually, they just love it. Wow, I can turn on my lights with my voice. Yes. And it's that easy.
Cool. Mosey, anything to add?
I do. I personally don't love voice control. I'd much rather push a button, which is 100% accurate every single time it does its job, where voice seems like it's a 90% accurate. But a client's requested a lot and they want it. So we've tested Amazon and Josh AI. Josh seems to work better than Amazon, but they're both pretty good. They work with climate control, shades, and lighting. They don't yet work with audio and video. So I really would like to see that happen soon so I can more confidently push voice. Luckily, it's not the most important thing when deploying a system right now.
Understood. Question around the Crestron Home Configurator. Do your companies use the Crestron Home Configurator to configure these systems in advance? And if so, how's your experience been? Mosey?
Yeah, so Crestron Home is the future of Crestron. The Crestron Configurator seems to be the future of Crestron Home. Very excited about this. We've used it to so far do the lighting loads where they land on the panels, where we give that information to the electrician. He's able to land everything correctly. And then it makes deploying easier for all the lighting zones. We just use a deploy code when we first start up the system, and all of the lighting modules and zones are already there. And now they're adding more. They're adding scenes and keypads and soon even more programming. So my hope is eventually, and I think this is where they're going, we'll be able to program 90% of the system remotely before we get to site, do a deploy code, and be done. So that's it's definitely a great tool. Get into it now and be familiar with it.
Awesome. Al, do you guys use Crestron Home Configurator at all?
Yeah, that was one of our big things why we didn't jump on board right away, because we do so much lighting. And so the configurator really wasn't around initially. And so once it started coming around, and now with the new scenes like Mosey's talking about, the keypads, it's going to make it a lot easier, because that is how we want to deploy. So we don't like deploying in clients' homes. There is some amount of time that we got to spend there, but in general, we want to do everything off-site and just go in there and dump the program and go. And at that point, it's just about testing.
Cool. Al, looks like a question that's aimed at you. Do you see Crestron Home? Do you see Crestron Home in the marine space for smaller vessels at some point in time?
Actually, believe it or not, we did do a small vessel, a retrofit here in Florida, and it worked. It worked fine. I don't think on the yachts that we're working on in Europe, I don't think it's going to work, but who knows? The platform has a lot of legs. And the only problem is that in the marine world, there is a high level of customization. So, our average deployment time of programming is about 3 months, could go as high as 4 months on a yacht. So it does take a long time. And I'm not sure that Crestron is the right product for that. Crestron Home is.
Okay. Okay, so I got one question here that's a little future looking. So what's the most important feature you're waiting on for Crestron Home? Mosey, I'll start with you.
Can you guess the one I'm waiting on?
I could probably guess it because I've seen it posted, I think, a few times online, but go for it.
So room-to-room intercom is probably my top one. A lot of clients hate intercoms in their homes. They don't want phones all over the house. They think it's archaic. They want to go panel to panel. We've deployed it in the past. And when I've deployed it in the past, it worked okay, not great. I think that if Crestron Home did it natively, it would work really, really well. And I'm also waiting for in-use indicators on devices, on sources for matrix systems, which I think is important for me, at least.
Understood. Stand by. Al?
I think we need like a generic audio module that we do a lot of, especially on some of our bigger projects that exceed the capabilities of, say, like swamps. So we do a lot of symmetrics, which is Dante based. And so I would love to be able to integrate these with some type of generic module. And I know you guys got things coming, but until then.
Okay. So one last question. I think we have time for just one more. And this is actually a really good question that I'm sorry I did not have included in my list of questions to you guys. What's the most challenging project you've done with Crestron Home? And can you talk about the scope and scale of that project? Al?
I think they're all pretty much the same. I mean, if you do a couple rooms, or if you do a lot of rooms, I think it's pretty much the same. Challenging, I would say, if you're getting into doing backnet stuff. So we just deployed one that had a carrier system. So we threw in an RMC3 to deal with the carrier system, did the backnet off that to talk to the Crestron Home system. Works perfectly, right? But again, that's not for somebody who only does Crestron Home. I mean, they need to know simple because you got to write the simple modules on that side. I would say that would be the most difficult thing that you'd encounter.
Mosey?
So it's not really difficult. It's just size. We're doing our biggest project ever. Again, we're a small company. So our biggest project ever, it's going to be about $600,000. It's a very large home for us. And it's just about maxing out the amount of loads and touchscreens and climate control and shades on one project. And I think we're at the limits on everything on this project. But we're still in the pre-wire phase, and it's going to be completed hopefully around April. And I'm wondering by then if we might have either a stronger processor that could handle more, or if we're going to go multi-processor. But either way, the current CP4R will handle this system as is.
And can you talk about the size? I mean, from a lighting load or number of audio zones or video zones or things like that? Because I know Mac system size is pretty significant, right?
Yeah. So I'm not good with numbers right now. I'm just going to guess a little bit, but it's over 200 loads of lighting. I don't remember how many shades, but it was $100,000 in shades alone. So maybe 60 or 70 shades. It's going to be 20 or 30 touch panels. Video zones are not going to be that many, maybe 7 or 8. And 14 climate zones. So I hope it fits.
Okay, that's a big system.
I'll squeeze it in there. But, so one of the things when you do a large job like that, because we just finished one and a significant amount of rooms, especially audio rooms, the lists tend to get quite long, right? So I think the rooms list. So I think if we could find a more creative way to aggregate some of those rooms, so that when you do press that like room light button on, and let's say you have the closet and you have the bathroom, because you don't want to have all those as individual rooms, but you have them all in that one bedroom. When you press that button, that only those lights go on.
So there are ways to do that now.
Hey,
yeah.
Well, you see, yeah. I'm not a programmer.
Yep.
Well, the rooms list is a little bit of a challenge. We create the filters. You can create filters. We do first floor, second floor, but there should definitely be a way to manage that rooms list a little bit better. So filters exist, but it's not perfect. In terms of the tapping the light tile, you could just change the all on, all off scene to include or exclude certain lights, and that's what the tile will turn on and off.
Okay, well, I think, look, we're out of time, and look, thank you guys so much for doing this and sharing your experiences. Again, I think your perspective from two different ends of the spectrum here. One very large company who dove in a little later and carefully picked the projects that they're doing with this, and Mosey who dove in head first from day one. I think your two different perspectives really tell a good story about how Crestron Home can help your businesses. So thank you so much for sharing that, and good luck with the rest of Crestron Next, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, John.
Thanks, John.
Thank you.